I don't know if a lot of people are following what's going on in Brazil with their election coming up tomorrow, but this has pretty far-reaching implications for everything, basically the entire world power structure. Because this guy Neves is a CIA, U.S. Western plant. He's a complete fraud that'll do whatever Washington's bidding. Now, I'm not saying that the other candidate, Rousseff, is any better. She's done a terrible job, but at least she's independent of Washington. So you can see here the story which came out today shows that Neves is leading by 9 points in this poll taken. And then this story from a few days ago shows Rousseff is leading by about 6 to 8 points. And most polls that I've seen are showing that Rousseff is leading. Now again, she's terrible. Her government, if you watched any of the World Cup, military police, crackdowns, clearing out of the slums, the whole deal. She's terrible. But I would rather have somebody independent and terrible than somebody controlled by Washington and terrible. So let's go into a little bit of proof of what I'm saying about this guy being a CIA guy. So after the accidental death of socialist candidate Eduardo Campos, Brazilians were asked to choose their president among 3 main candidates. The current president, Dilma Rousseff, Socialist Democrat Aécio Neves, or Campos' substitute, the environmentalist Marina Silva, known for her links to George Soros. Silva's decision to rally behind Neves seems to ward off foreign interference, but is having the opposite effect. So what they're saying is they killed Campos and installed Silva in his place as the party's candidate. Silva, obviously, in with George Soros. Silva then throws her support behind Neves, who is from the CIA. You see how this works? The U.S. government does this all over the world. So Neves' chief economic advisor and the man who would become finance minister in the Neves presidency is Arminio Fraga Neto, former close friend and associate of Soros and his quantum hedge fund. Fraga is hoping that a Neves presidency will open up Brazil to market forces. We all know what that means. The very same forces that have declared economic war on Venezuela and are attempting to swindle Argentina through vulture funds created by Soros' Wall Street friends. So Fraga is a member of the World Economic Forum. He's also a former executive with Salomon Brothers and a former president of the Brazilian Central Bank. Fraga has also been linked to Goldman Sachs through a Manhattan real estate deal involving the purchase of a $7.5 million condo from a former Goldman Sachs and Lehman Brothers executive. Fraga's membership on the elitist Council on Foreign Relations and Group of 30 puts Fraga in the same camp as such Wall Street villains as Alan Greenspan, David Rockefeller, former Bank of Israel chairman Jacob Frenkel, and Wall Street apologist Paul Krugman, former U.S. Secretary Larry Summers. Anyone who's involved with the Council on Foreign Relations is an evil human being and deserves to be strung up. So Fraga, who would be in charge of Brazil's economy, is one of those people. So Rousseff easily took first. They do it a little bit differently. It's not exactly a primary system. You can vote for anybody in the first round of elections, and the top candidates then go to the second round of elections, which is happening tomorrow. So Rousseff easily won on October 5th, sending Wall Street and the U.S. into a panic. The main implication of this, aside from the poor citizens of Brazil who are going to be subject to the same nonsense of the rest of the Western world, is the BRICS Bank, how Brazil interacts with Russia and China. If they're under U.S. control, you can obviously see that relationship changing. So it's obvious to see why the U.S. wants to get in with Brazil, because taking over Russia and China is going to be more difficult. I feel like the Indian Prime Minister is a pawn and a puppet, so they've already taken him out. South Africa they're working on, they're going to get that pretty quickly, and Brazil could happen tomorrow. President Rousseff's policies have created powerful enemies within the walls of the CIA and Langley, among other boardrooms of Wall Street and the West's most powerful corporations. She succeeded in proving the polls and pundits wrong on October 5th, but October 26th remains yet another hurdle. People of Brazil will be voting on October 26th as if their lives depend on it. For Brazil's poor and new middle class, a Neves victory will destroy their livelihoods as well as their very. But people on the ground are hip to this, the same way that some people are hip to what's going on in the U.S. and other countries. But unfortunately, most of the people are not. And they think that Neves is just, he's a good guy who wants social, blah, blah, blah. Nonsense. So over 2,000 political activists, intellectuals, blah, 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 have posted to political networks trying to get people to realize that this guy will inflict damage to the country, take away all barriers to direct U.S. interference into Brazilian internal affairs. Neves is to play the role of obedient tool in the hands of U.S. administration. Washington goes to any length to achieve its goal and bring the desired candidate to power. Some things are done covertly, like killing that independent candidate. Some tricks are resorted to in a clandestine way. Again, the CIA is infiltrated Brazilian networks, the internet, and they're pushing the propaganda pretty hard on this guy. And if that economic advisor wasn't bad enough, Rubens Antonio Barbosa is the senior advisor of Neves. And this guy is even worse. This guy would, according to this article, he's the CIA's leading agent of influence. He's been ambassador to London, and he now heads the Superior Council of Foreign Trade of Federation of Industries in the state of Sao Paulo. In accordance with his pro-U.S. orientation, he calls for depolarization of foreign policy and the reconsideration of U.S. strategic priorities in relation to the United States and China. So it's obvious to see what side he would fall on, shifting from China to the U.S. So after the spying scandal, which happened last year, the fact that the tapping of the phone of the president, members of cabinet, military leadership, and top leaders of the special services by the CIA, followed by the refusal of President Obama to apologize, Brazil strengthened its relationship with China, taking the lead partner since the tenure of former President Lula da Silva, joining the BRICS Bank, the Mercosur, which is the South American trade union, and essentially snubbing its nose at the U.S. for all this illegal spying. This guy would come in and completely change all of that. So listen to this carefully. Barbosa says that in the case Neves wins, the United States will occupy a proper place in Brazil's foreign policy priorities. There is a phrase said by Barbosa which provides a clue to what would-be foreign policy of Brazil will be like. And going to the last sentence, stand on such issues as relationship with Mercosur, the Southern Common Market, a sub-regional bloc, BRICS, and other international groups will be corrected. You can see this is if Neves wins tomorrow, it's going to be a complete power shift in the world. The U.S. will basically take over South America. Brazil is the most important nation in South America. They've already destabilized Argentina economically. They're going after Brazil hard. If they win, and there's no saying they won't just rig the election if they're not going to win, then the entire power structure of the world is about to change. So this should be on everybody's radar. I know there's false flags left and right now. They're making a hard push on everything. And this is just another cog in their machine, another piece in their puzzle, and they want Brazil bad. And if you think this isn't going to tick off Russia and China, wow, this is going to be bad if Neves wins. And like I said, even if he doesn't, Rousseff is a monster. She's terrible. She's horrible for the country, horrible for the world, but again, worst of two evils here, and you got to root hard that Neves loses.